So thank you again for coming. The aim of this session is really so that you can meet the Year 5 teachers. I'm here with Miss Forsey and Mrs. Dickinson. They're really looking forward to speaking with you. They're going to talk to you a bit about life in Year 5, what the structure of the day is like, what the children will be learning about. They'll also talk about homework and things like that. There will be time for questions at the end. What would be really helpful, if you have a question during the session, if you pop it in the chat as it occurs to you, then at the end, we can then share and discuss those questions at the time. And we'd really appreciate if it was questions that you think that everyone would benefit from hearing. If you have a more individual question, please do approach us at the end of the school day and we can answer it at that time. Okay, without further ado, I will pass over to the Year 5 teachers.
Hello everybody, Miss Forsey here.
Hello, and I'm Mrs. Dickinson. So I teach Kestrels.
And I teach Falcons. Next slide, please, Miss. There we go.
Okay.
We also have Mrs. Johnston as a teaching assistant, Mrs. Rogan as a teaching assistant, and Mrs. Lumsden in our year group.
Okay. Yes, and we very much work as a close team. So I'm going to talk to you about the structure of our day, which we try to stick to as much as possible because it's very good for the children to have that set routine. So we start off at 8:40 with our registration and early morning work. And then both classes will move into SPAG and English. After that, we have guided reading, followed by assembly. And then they have some playtime. And then we do our arithmetic and maths. Then we have lunchtime. And then we do foundation subjects in the afternoon, finishing at 3 o'clock.
On Monday, Wednesday and Friday, we have assemblies. On Tuesday and Thursday, we now don't have assemblies, but we will be doing other things in that time. Next slide, please, Mr. Tuck. Okay. Obviously, our curriculum, as it is normally in Key Stage 2, we have English, which classes as reading, writing and SPAG, spelling, punctuation and grammar. We have maths, we have science, PE, PSHE, art, music, geography, history, RE, computing, DT and French.
And we do try to make sure that we cover all of those subjects across the week to make sure that everybody's getting broad and balanced curriculum. So our topics, the subjects that we teach through themes. So this autumn 1, first half term, our topic is the Tudors, and our theme is Off with Her Head, and it's a really exciting topic. We really love it. After half term, we'll be moving on to Stargazers, and that's about space. Then in the spring term, the whole of the spring term is devoted to Egyptians. So we're teaching everything through the theme of Egypt, Egyptians. And finally, and this is really popular, it's quite a new topic for us now, it's wildlife warriors. And this was really successful last summer. So we're very excited to be working on that.
Very excited to do it for a second time, which would be good. Okay, educational visits and Spark Days. So we will organise Spark Days to start or end each topic, as well as educational visits to support our learning. So they obviously provide a valuable experience for all our children. We know that they develop their understanding through them, and obviously they engage them throughout the topics. Some of the Sparks and educational visits we have are workshops that come in, or we might go to them. Space Planetarium Dome we're hoping for this year. Obviously fundraising day, you might have seen that last year with our wildlife warriors. We're hoping for that this year, maybe on a more grand scale now that COVID hopefully will not be in the way of that, as well as allotments and many, many more trips. So we're really excited for all of those educational visits and Spark Days.
So every Tuesday afternoon for Year 5, teachers are released, the Year 5 teachers are released, and that's so that we can get together, we can discuss our Spark Days, get our planning sorted to make sure that both classes are following the same pathway. And then we're preparing and assessing, and we do that every Tuesday afternoon. So on a Tuesday afternoon, the children are taught by Mrs. Rogan and Mr. Carlo, and that's regular, so the children get used to the same staff on a regular basis.
And just so you know, Mrs. Rogan will teach them PE, and Mr. Carlo is doing music at the moment. We're not sure if that's going to change due to swimming, but we will let you know in due course if need be. So homework, obviously daily reading, we definitely want those children to be reading every single day, even if it is just for 5 to 10 minutes. Any more is a bonus, so keep going. Obviously we encourage the SPAG Wizard, which we're hoping to get up and running this year again. Homework, we send them out on a Wednesday each week, and it's due in on the following Monday. It is marked in class on a Tuesday, so please make sure it is in on that Monday. It will be closely linked to the areas of our curriculum, and we'll be focusing on that half term. Please encourage your children to log on to TT Rockstars as well, in benefit for the maths times tables. Obviously last year they didn't have the statutory times table test, but it's always good to keep on practicing every single day. And in addition, if your child does have a Lexia account that is only for certain children, please ensure that they complete their weekly activities as needed.
Okay, so attendance. Please ensure that your child is in school on time each day. As you can see, the structure of our day is really quite tight. We start first thing in the morning. Miss Forsey and I have morning activities and reading activities that we do with the children. So if they can be in promptly on time so that we can get those started, otherwise they're missing some of the foundation things that we like to get done. Attendance is expected to be higher than 96%. So that's only really very, very small amount of time off school for any reason. Uniform, we're being quite vigilant about uniform now, because we want the children to look smart. And please, we've had a little bit of problem with some jewellery being worn, particularly earrings. If children are wearing earrings, we can't allow them to do PE, and most of them love PE and they don't want to miss it, and we just can't, for safety reasons, allow them to do PE if they're wearing earrings. If they've got any large hair accessories, if they could be removed and dyed hair and shaved sections are not permitted in school. So PE is done on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So if your children could come to school in their PE kit on those days, those are our PE days. Thank you.
Okay, so our 6 values for Grovelands are kindness, respect, friendship, uniqueness, trust and determination. The children have had a lesson on this at the beginning of our year 5, so they all know the 6 values we share at Grovelands. We do have a values assembly on a Monday just to kind of reinforce those values as well. So if you can talk to them about it at home, that would be great. That would be great for us. And we do talk about them individually each half term as well.
And we do have some classroom rules based on those values, which every child has signed as well. So, so they should be sticking to those rules. Okay, so we have a Grovelands Behaviour System. So every child is in a house and they should know their house by now. They'll be awarded Grovelands Values tokens, and those tokens are collected from each class, transfers to the house teams, and then that winning house gets to have a special treat in school. We also try to recognise children positively in other ways as well. So we might have their names up on a chart, we might have a punch card for them to recognise individual good behaviour and to show that we are noticing those things that they do that are right.
Okay, so concerns. If a child is worried about anything, we do encourage them to speak to us about it by talking to any member of staff. It doesn't just have to be myself or Mrs. Dickinson or Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Reagan or Mrs. Lumsden. It can be to any member of staff that they feel comfortable to. It can also be that they can talk to a parent or a carer who can relay worries to us. And you, by all means, please do feel free to come and see us anytime in the morning or after school, or feel free to leave a message at the office and we'll get back to you when we can, or even just write a note and then they can send it to any adult who can investigate further. If they don't want to talk about it, they can write it down. If you guys have any concerns as parents, firstly, please do come and speak to your class teacher, obviously Miss Forsey for Falcons, Mrs. Dickinson's for Kestrels. And again, if this hasn't been resolved on the first instance, then your next step is to speak to the phase leader of year 5 and 6. So upper key stage 2 phase leader is Miss Curtin. And then if it still hasn't been resolved, which I'm sure it wouldn't have been, but if it still hasn't been, then please do feel free to go and speak to one of the senior leadership team.
So we do have regular parent meetings as well. So all parents will be invited to make an appointment for the parent consultation evenings in the autumn and spring terms. And parents of children with special educational needs are also invited to a pupil passport meeting every term to specifically talk about those children's individual targets which are on those passports. It's not to discuss anything else, just those targets.
There will be reminders about when those are as well, date-wise. Remote learning offer. So whilst most children obviously will be in school, should a child need to isolate after testing positive for COVID, we will provide remote home learning tasks. This is only applicable if the child does not have any symptoms and is therefore well enough to complete the work. So if they are ill with it, then obviously they are not required to complete the work, but they must have a positive test to receive that home learning.
Okay, if you have any questions that apply to the whole year group, please do ask them now.
Feel free to put them in the chat. If you don't want to talk, you can write it down.
Yeah, there's no questions in the chat at the moment, but do feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say your question out loud. We'll give it 30 seconds for any questions to come through.
I'd like a question, please. I'd just like to clarify a little bit about what's expected in terms of reading they do at home, because often at this stage they obviously read to themselves, but are you expecting them to read every day out loud to us, or what sort of thing are you expecting?
No, we don't expect them to read to you. It's good if you can hear them from time to time, if they will still read to you from time to time, but they are now allowed to read to themselves. They're also allowed to sign their own reading record diaries, although we would ask that you have a look at those once a week and just sign to, to confirm that that is what's happened. We are also listening to the children over a period of time. You'll appreciate it's quite hard to hear nearly 30 children within a week. It might be over a fortnight. But we're also listening to the children read, and we will be writing in their reading records to say when that's done. And also we'll be assessing their reading.
And also, I think it would be really good as well, just from our previous experience, I think it's really good for you guys to read to them as well, just to kind of model to them different expressions, different voices, and just have fun with it. Please, don't worry about it, don't stress about it, just have fun with reading at home. Yeah. And like we say, just try to do it at least 5 to 10 minutes every day. That reading is really quite key for them and their learning. So,
or even listening to a story being read to them, that's lovely, because that exposes the children to great vocabulary too. So pick out a classic. And
and it can be any genre. It doesn't have to be a fiction book or a non-fiction book. I mean, you could even decide on the weekend that you go to the shop and buy a Sunday newspaper. It's whatever you want to do, anything to expose them and to read. And what interests your individual children as well, because they're not all motivated to read the same sorts of books. So just reading as much as possible.
Thank you. Perfect answer. Thank you. There's a question from Zoe about whether the parents' evenings will be remote or in person. I can answer that one. So we'll send out some information shortly. They're going to be after half term, in the second week after half term, and they will be remote on this occasion. So we're going to do them via the parents' evening system, as we have done for the last year and a half, because I still feel that we're not at the point where we can come and do those in person in the school hall, just for safety reasons, for everyone's safety really. So those will be done remotely, and then we'll keep it under review term by term. If there was a point where we could have them in person, then we'd return to that, but we're not at that point yet. And then another question around swimming. So yes, year 5, they will be doing swimming. I, off the top of my head, can't remember which term that's in, guys. Can you remember?
It's spring and summer, but we're not sure which class is spring and which class is summer, but we will let you know as soon as we find out.
Perfect.
And confirm it.
And that happens at the Excel Centre. So each class will have a term of swimming lessons in either the spring or the summer.
And that will replace one of their PE sessions. So it will be either the Tuesday or the Thursday replacement of PE. I can't guarantee that it will be on a Tuesday or on a Thursday, but it will replace one of those sessions.
Perfect. Okay, that feels like that might be the end of the question. So thank you. Well, thank you to everyone for coming to the session.